Zooks.
Get it, Zooks.
Oh, you're going for double milk.
I can't tell if that's a 4 or a 1, so I'm not gonna risk it and just drink this whole fucking thing over the next couple of days and just buy new stuff on Sunday.
You realize that's tonight and tomorrow.
I know. The week just kind of plays by me.
I will have you know I drank some milk this morning that had a sell-by date of 2 days ago. Because I'm kind of a bamf.
Meanwhile, John's stomach. Oh God, what's happening?
John said "bamf," which is just immediately redacting the whole statement.
It's like all of that is gone now.
True story. Anyone who refers to themselves as a bamf, legitimately, is absolutely not
anyone who
that.
refers to himself as any acronym pretty much ever.
I'm a TLDR.
I think that's how acronyms work.
Your
John.
whole fucking life is a TLDR.
You guys ready to start this?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Hi, I'm John.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Ben.
And this is Agree to Disagree, kind of.
Sort of.
So, I want to start this episode by introducing Ben, who you might remember from Star Wars and other things.
Yeah, I came in on the Star Wars podcast, and you guys liked me for some reason. And so I'm here again, which is pretty dope.
Yeah, so Ben is officially our third man in this podcast.
Hey, third wheel.
Yay!
Woo. And in honor of Ben's first real episode, we're gonna be talking about wrestling.
Yes,
that's one thing Ben's a huge fan of.
This is revenge for Star Wars. Not that Star Wars was bad necessarily. We'll find out in episode 5.
Fair enough.
Fair enough.
But now we get to go into my pride and joy, which most people would be embarrassed and ashamed of, but I do not care. I fucking love wrestling, so it's kind of agree to disagree in some sense.
Fair enough, yeah.
In the case of wrestling, you definitely let your freak flag fly.
Yeah, it's why be ashamed of it? Like, we'll get into why I love it so much, but we should kind of discuss where our backgrounds are, because obviously I'm the passionate one, but where do you two kind of sit on
John,
the fence?
you wanna start this one?
Yes, I will definitely start this. So my background with wrestling, outside of, as I mentioned in the podcast, I believe, my most recent wrestling experience was going to SmackDown that Ben invited me to. And I was late, and I still had a pretty good time, but I didn't know, I don't know any of the background stories of a lot of the characters, a lot of the wrestlers. And before that, my major experiences with wrestling were having a good friend growing up who was way into wrestling, and I pretended I understood anything. And my brother Dan and I playing the Super Nintendo WWF game.
Oh, there you go.
And just kind of like playing as either the Undertaker,
Of course.
or playing as one of the brothers. Who are the brothers named?
Which brothers?
The one that died.
Oh, the Harts.
The Hart brothers. Yes.
Yeah.
Playing as one or both of the Hart brothers.
Brett the Hitman Hart.
Well, there's Brett and Owen was the one who died tragically.
Right.
God.
Well, and then of course there's my background that I love Randy Savage.
Yeah.
I mean, specifically this one YouTube video of Randy Savage. It's an awesome music video someone made about how he did a lot of cocaine.
Oh,
and is
yeah.
unstoppable.
The 80s wrestling is basically one giant cocaine decade-long
I was
binge.
going to say, between Randy Savage and Ric Flair, I'm shocked there's any cocaine left on the planet.
Yeah. If you have not before, folks, go onto YouTube right now and do a search for Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan. And you'll probably find a video of the two of them
snorting cocaine off their title belts.
No, like the two of them, they've teamed up, and it's just both of them hyped up, talking about how they're this unstoppable force that joined up. That is one giant cocaine binge rant.
See, I'm convinced it was the same thing with the Ultimate Warrior too. Like, there's.
Oh, the Ultimate Warrior is he is passed since.
I mean, so is Randy Savage, unfortunately.
Yeah, one I'm more sad about than the other.
Fair enough.
But so basically, my background with wrestling is a lot of tertiary stuff.
Yeah.
And beyond that, being a poser as a preteen.
Aren't we all though?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, those wrestling posers were a big fucking deal.
Well, I mean, when I was growing up, like in the 90s, like that was, if you didn't know anything about either wrestling or the 49ers or the Raiders, you were kind of fucked.
We had different childhoods, but sure.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you on that one, Ben.
Well, for me, so a lot of wrestling got huge as far as like popular mainstream culture in the 2000s, around the time when The Rock and Stone Cold were like the big two people.
Oh.
And that's where I remember in 4th grade, I saw people with like the Stone Cold t-shirts that said like "fuck you," but it had like the skull for the letter U.
Wait, so who's The Rock?
The Rock, Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Oh, Dwayne Johnson
is The Rock.
Oh yeah, the fantastic actor Dwayne Johnson. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic! All right, well, hang on. So my
Andrew,
my
go
background
ahead.
in wrestling is, if John is tertiary, I'm at least more secondary sources.
Okay, sure.
I had friends who paid attention to it. I have friends who currently pay attention to it. And I originally paid attention to it a little bit during the 90s, early 2000s. Not major. Like, I don't think I've ever sat down and watched an episode of Raw or SmackDown.
Sure.
But I played the N64 games of, like, No Mercy and whatever other stuff came out on the 64. And most recently, that made me actually want to get back into it, or pay attention to it fully, was the Max Landis Wrestling Isn't Wrestling video.
Yeah,
that was fantastic and amazingly well done, and I occasionally will have just looked up a couple matches to watch them, just to be like, oh, I wonder what this is about. And I'm like, this is fun. I've been to a few independent wrestling things in Seattle. It's been entertaining. It's not like a huge thing for me, but it's good background noise.
So wrestling has changed so much that I would, for anyone who's like trying to get into it for the very first time, I would recommend them watching Max Landis's Wrestling Isn't Wrestling video, because it's transformed a little bit from the 80s and 90s and even arguably the 2000s, where it was supposed to be taken very seriously. Like, it was not supposed to be like, you know, nose, what's it like?
On the nose.
On the nose. Like, I charaded on the nose while
did.
touching my nose.
Way to go.
Yeah, well, it's supposed to be taken like very literally. These were like real storylines, but nowadays it's kind of treated as like the theater that it is a little bit.
I get that.
Which is interesting, and I'll get into it a little bit later. But like,
it's kind of embraced its absurdism.
It is like
I mean, admittedly, it is men in tights throwing bones at each other from what, in a wrestling ring while like shouting soliloquies. It is kind of ridiculous.
Well, there's like, I'll put this for instance, like one of the matches on the WrestleMania card, which we'll get into a little bit, is the Undertaker, who's an undead zombie cowboy wizard person, to put it in no better way.
No, you're not wrong.
Is fighting this gentleman named Roman Reigns, who is just like this big like security guard looking esque person, or he was.
Oh yeah, wasn't he on the Shield?
He was a member of the Shield, which is just basically like this fuck you vigilante group who just beat people up for the sake of doing it, but they always wear like SWAT vests and bulletproof shit, and they always dress in black and whatnot. It looks like a really bad like Sam Fisher ×3.
What if Sam Fisher sucked at being subtle?
Basically, that's exactly what it was. What if in sneaking around the crowd, they just went straight through the fucking crowd?
That's not how stealth works, gentlemen.
Yeah, well, you know. But yeah, so it's one of those things where like they play it's much more theatrical. They embrace it for what it is, and they're not trying to hide anything. It's this new culture that's kind of come up in more modern discussions of it, where there's this term called smart marks. Mark is like a fan, or traditionally someone who can be tricked into believing it was real, something to that effect. The definition's kind of loose. But a smart mark is concerned about like the meta level of like, how will they book the ending of the show? It's kind of like watching a soap opera. It's like, how will the show end? Will something Game of Thrones reference? Will they get the revenge or whatever? Like, gigs like that.
So are you saying that they're watching the wrestling match and kind of trying to find like the story arc throughout the match?
Yeah,
like you have a setup, you have the body of the match, and then you have the finale.
I think there's two, arguably three parts to any sort of while watching wrestling. One, at least in the match itself, is the actual athleticism of the performers,
Right.
Which is undeniably impressive. Like, a lot of people's like, yeah, it's staged, it's faked, and to some degree, sure. But like some of the kicks they do, and some of the like the canvas that they hit is not a trampoline. Like that's a 2x4 with some canvas like cloth on top of it. Like it's not the most flexible thing.
Yeah. As a side note, I feel like every time someone's like, "Well, wrestling's fake," right? It's like that's on the same level as someone saying, "Well, RC cars aren't actually cars, right?"
It's like
no
not,
shit.
Well, the proper answer to it, and I've given this answer, like I tried to explain it to people, but the real answer is like, well, no fucking shit. Like
duh.
what would if I thought it was real, like hospitalize me immediately, like.
If I thought any of this was actually happening, just send me to get sectioned immediately.
Right.
Oh my god, I beat Mortal Kombat. You don't know Kung Fu, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a lot like that. The second part of any match is kind of watching the psychology of the wrestlers themselves, because a lot of times they'll interweave their storylines into it, where a lot of times you'll get like this chicken heel who always runs away but talks a big game, so you see a lot of that stuff.
Oh, Triple H.
You see a lot of Triple H is somewhat of a candidate for this. Kevin Owens is a big star now, who plays that to a T, just plays it perfectly. And he's an intimidating dude. Like he'll beat people up, but he just kind of dances around people a lot of times. He's like, "This is not my match. I'm better than you," and he kind of shows it. It's a lot of that. The subtler things that happen in between a lot of the moves is where storytelling really happens.
Interesting.
And then the outside level of all that is the actual storylines themselves, whether it's someone competing for a belt or someone who got their girlfriend stolen, which has happened way too many times as a theme in wrestling. Wrestling has its roots in very misogynistic sort of stuff. It's changing. It's not quite there, but it's changing for the better, obviously. But a lot of times if the storyline is simple as like, you have the belt and I want it, fantastic. Some stories like, you betrayed me because you were supposed to be on my tag team and then you weren't. Like, and sometimes it gets super deep and super personal. Where one of the matches coming up on the WrestleMania card is The Miz and his wife Maurice versus John Cena and Nikki Bella, which I'll elaborate again later, because I don't want to spend all my time talking about it on front. But it tends to that where it really bleeds into reality, because they reference their real life relationships and the real life problems and all that sort of stuff. It's actually become it's really stepped out of the ring and made its way to much more like personal levels. Where you even see it on like morning talk shows, for instance. You see a lot of wrestlers, or even like late night television shows like Jimmy Fallon or Conan O'Brien has had wrestlers on pretty frequently, because it's made its way outside of a niche culture and back into popular.
I was going to say
that goes even. Sorry.
No. I was going to say, in regards to even just like wrestling isn't real, there are also those like horrifying moments. I remember even seeing clips of like Mankind back in the day, just like falling off that cage into that table and being like, "That man is dead."
He fell twice.
Yeah, no, but there are those moments in wrestling where it's like, that stunt was insane and that man looks like he should be dead.
Yeah, so in that match you see Undertaker like looking over the cage, and it's supposed like, I think they wanted to spin off as him just being like proud that he did that to someone, but he's apparently looking over like, I just killed a dude. Like
that
shit.
There are too many moments in wrestling where like the stunts get a little bit too intense and someone looks like they took way too serious of a hit.
Nowadays it's a lot safer, because a lot of the stuff they're restricted from doing a lot of stuff, just because taking like a aluminum chair to the head is still really bad. It's the equivalent of playing football and just getting tackled all the damn time. It's not great, but it's also a lot more flashy. You see a lot more what I dub as flippy shit. Because it's basically what it is. It's a lot of cartwheels and corkscrews.
It's less just dudes getting slammed into tables.
From what I saw when I was at SmackDown, it feels like right now you have your classic WWE, WWF, WCW, whatever, professional wrestling going on, and then they have what is currently like their sub-level kind of shit, but is probably going to blend and mesh more where it's more acrobatic.
Mm-hmm.
You have all these other scrappy dudes who are way more acrobatic, athletic than a lot of previous professional wrestlers would be.
I mean, we saw this when we were talking with you. You were watching it when we were recording another show. When was it, that Irish boxer who like never would have been a person during like the Attitude Era of wrestling, who is just dancing around his opponent.
The Irish boxer. Are you talking about the guy who had the umbrella?
Yes.
Yeah, he's British.
The British guy.
Yeah.
Sorry, the British boxer who was like straight up dancing around his opponent, and then I'm like, this never would have happened 10 years ago.
Well, what I was talking about was what was the sub group where it's like
you're
much more athletic.
You're talking about 205 Live,
Yes.
which is a dedicated show to what's called the Cruiserweights, which are people under 205 pounds, which their moveset tends to be much more luchador-esque, which is to say they're much more flippy, they're super agile. It's not the big bulky performance enhancing dudes with the muscles. It's much more like, I'm just going to do backflips over backflips.
And I feel
awesome.
like there's I wouldn't be surprised if in the next 10 years you saw a lot more of sort of the luchador vibe falling into pro wrestling, and in the mainstream wrestling.
Well, it's hard to predict the future because wrestling is very fickle in what the fans like to see versus what they don't. And again, as we walk through the card later, you'll see very different types of matches going on, where some are going to be that flippy shit style, and some are going to be incredibly slow paced, and really like strongman sort of stuff, and the other ones are going to be really story heavy. Like the way they interact is going to be very cinematic, if you will.
Okay.
Which is going to be fantastic stuff, hopefully.
So why don't we just dive into it then? So the WrestleMania we're going to be watching WrestleMania this week.
We are going to watch WrestleMania 33.
Yep. Correct.
Yes. And I'm going to try to have pretty quick turnaround on this so that we release this episode shortly after WrestleMania 33.
So it's still relevant.
Yes.
I mean, it's fair, because I'm curious to see what your reactions will be, like, very shortly after you've had some time to digest, where it's just like, and part of me is nervous, because WrestleMania has become, or it's kind of shifted into being so targeting the more popular culture that I'm not saying the matches will be watered down or bad or anything, but I'm just curious to see, like, because a lot of, like, your more wrestling-heavy sort of pay-per-views would be like SummerSlam or Survivor Series, where typically that's you're in the middle of wrestling season, so you're not going to get a lot of your mainstream non-wrestling folk to watch it. Where even this is how this kind of started with you guys, where I love wrestling and I was like, hey, I'm watching this, and we just kind of wanted to do it together. You guys wouldn't watch wrestling if it wasn't for me being like, I fucking love wrestling, let's do this.
Yeah, fair enough.
And a lot of the people who will watch it just with their buddies who really love it, will probably fall away, and that's where you're going to see later in the year, you're going to see a lot more of your more like wrestling-esque matches, which sounds really odd to say, but it's true.
I would assume it's the stuff that gets more technical. This is probably going to be flashier then?
It's going to be way flashier.
So more appealing to, for example, myself, like people like myself and John who don't pay attention to this.
And it's not so much flashier in that the movesets you'll see will be anything particularly different. What's actually going to be flashy is the production quality of it.
I see.
Like the stage, some pictures have leaked of what the stage is going to look like, and it's it's built like a fucking roller coaster. Like that was their inspiration, and they hit it to a T.
That's amazing.
And their logo looks like the Universal Globe, like at Universal Studio. It's pretty freaking cool. It's in Orlando, which is where the thematics come in.
I love that.
So if we want to dive into it, and we can kind of elaborate a little bit further.
I would love for you to tell us what you think or what you predict we're going to see in this episode of WrestleMania.
So,
episode of WrestleMania. Are you just trying to make Ben like jump across the table and strangle you?
It's not necessarily bad terminology. I don't hate that necessarily, because I think if people would treat wrestling as an episodic thing, like I think it'd be more received well, at least be able to have more of a discussion about it versus like, God, like it's, of course, like, because people would be like, well, I won't believe that because it's not real. But if you treat it as an episode, if you treat it as something that's fiction, then maybe it has something to, you can kind of sacrifice, what's the word I'm looking for? It's suspending your disbelief. If you're willing to pay that ticket, like, is this worth my time?
I will say, I think one of my favorite terms has got to be from a friend of mine who calls it the drunken redneck soap opera. Which I'm not saying is accurate, but I'm saying it's one of my favorite, just like, that's a hilarious, like, oversimplification.
If we had this discussion, like, 18 years ago, that'd be accurate. That would have been a little bit more of an accurate statement.
The 2000s? So what, like, Stone Cold's era?
Oh, definitely Stone Cold's era.
Oh my god.
He brought out a beer truck and like hosed down like 20 people in the ring.
Wasn't it?
I mean, that was back when people were smelling what The Rock was cooking.
Wasn't his victory dance asking for like beer cans, shaking them, and then just like downing them?
Yeah, no,
on
that's
stage?
no. So the timekeeper is the one who'd always throw him the beer, and someone did the math on it. I don't remember the numbers, but it's something like over. I think he caught 80% of the beers that were thrown at him. And
Holy crap!
These are not small distances. These are not
Yes.
10-foot throws. These are like good 30-foot, 40-foot lobs. And he's like, "Yeah, got it. There it is. There it is over here. Nailed it." And then he did the thing where he smashes him over his head and just drinks it like this,
Like a motherfucking jabroni.
like a motherfucking jabroni.
So drunken redneck soap opera, early 2000s, not anymore.
So bummed that jabroni is not like a word we use on our day-to-day.
I have had-
there was a period of time in my life where it
you
was
would
a
call people
word.
jabronis?
No, we didn't call it that non-ironically. A good friend of mine growing up, Devin Toko, he used the word jabroni very ironically, and it actually devolved to a point where he was calling people burjonis.
Oh Lord! So I used jabroni about a week and a half ago, and they looked at me as like, "What the fuck did you just say?" Like I thought I said something really offensive. Like, no, I don't understand what a jabroni is. Like you're acting like it. That's all you need to know.
Then you look at it like, hey, 2000's calling. Are you going to answer?
A coworker of mine used it not a week ago.
Damn.
No, and she also like actively uses weird terminology like that.
The people that I said it to were also born in like 2000 or 1999, 2000.
Okay.
So it's actually at that point, it's like you didn't call a baby a jabroni at 1 year old. Like that's not a thing.
Oh
that
god.
happens.
Oh god. There's probably a child out there whose name is Jabroni.
Oh, gotta be.
Oh, I'm
my
sure.
God.
Gotta be.
Oh,
If your name is Jabroni, send me an email, please.
That's at John. No, was it? What was the gag?
My email is john@gggames.org.
There we go.
have you got an email yet?
Not that I know of.
Probably because we request very specific people to email
Well,
us.
also that episode just aired. As of recording, it just aired 2 days ago.
Sure. I'm just saying so far we requested if your name is Jabroni, if you have a religious intolerance against us because of some shit that we said
Or
previously.
if you want to give me a job for NPR.
Yeah.
Yep. Or I think we made a joke about men's rights activists one time. So we got 4 people we want emailing.
Yeah, all of them are negative sans the NPR thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the NPR thing might potentially be negative too if they lose all.
Hey,
their
your
funding.
name might be Jabroni and you might love it.
You might be
And
voting you were for NPR, 2 for 1.
We've gone way off track here.
Of course we did.
Well, you listened to this show, right?
Yes, actually, I do.
Well, he edits it, so hopefully.
Anyway, all right. So what's the match?
So let's kind of start at the kickoff show, and we'll kind of make our way up. And if it's an interesting match, I'll go into it. If it's not interesting, I'm like,
That seems fair.
So the starting off the show is the flippy shit match. It's the Cruiserweight division match, which is King Neville or Neville. He's a British bloke who it just has the most killer body. Just like you talk about this fusion of looking like a strength, like a muscly dude, plus flippy shit. That's that guy.
Oh, cool.
Super muscular. Versus Austin Aries, he's just kind of like this weird self-aware wrestler. Like he's very. If there was a wrestler that represented the internet, it'd probably be him to a small degree.
Does he come into the stage with a troll face on?
He's been on commentary for a bit because he suffered an orbiter. What's the eye bone? Orbital.
Yeah.
Yeah, he suffered a fracture on that because someone kicked him in the face and it shattered.
Oh, God, why?
Yeah. So wrestling is real sometimes.
Jesus.
That's one of them.
Ouch.
Right, and so a lot of wrestlers like they'll come down with like some of their accessories, like their glasses or like a wristband or like a shirt or like an armband or something like that. He came down once with a banana in his pocket.
For scale, obviously.
Yeah, that's kind of where I think that's where it comes from. And so he's walking down the ramp, and I guess he's already eaten the banana, and he tried giving the banana peel to a kid. And he like tried putting it like in his shirt like a tie, and then he like kind of gave up and just kind of like just threw it at him and like patted him on the head. He's like, "All right, we're going. Like, let's go down the road." That's why I'm excited for this match. It'll be a great match. They're both wonderful competitors.
Okay.
There's not a lot storyline wise. It's basically one of those you have the belt, I want the belt sort of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, it's they try to shoehorn a story into it. It's not that great.
All right.
The 4th annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal, also known as like, hey, we don't have a storyline for you, but we want you to have a paycheck, so you're in this match.
In honor of Andre the Giant.
Yeah, so
fantastic.
they've had it 3 different, they've had, I think, 2 or 3 different, 3 of them? Yeah, 3 different versions of this match in previous WrestleManias. It's now become a staple. And the idea is, like, if you win, you become the Andre the Memorial Battle Royal champion, and it's supposed to be this prestigious thing. They get a giant trophy, to be fair.
I would hope.
I mean, I don't
Is it to scale? Do they have to haul a 7-foot
It's
tall
not,
trophy?
I
out
don't
of
think
there?
it's exactly the scale, but I think it's like 5-6 feet. It's pretty fucking big.
Damn.
Jesus.
It's not tiny.
They do the it's like a 7-foot tall, like 400-pound trophy. Good luck getting that out of here,
Right.
asshole. Here's a dolly.
More or less.
Enjoy.
So they'll have this match and someone will win. There's like
Is there a storyline behind it, or is it just kind of weird here? Everybody maul each other.
So they always build this up the last 2 weeks before WrestleMania, where it's just like, oh, now we start announcing who's going to be in this match, and then now all of a sudden it becomes this important thing. It's like, I want to be the winner, and they'll mention that they won it, and then nothing will come of it. It's just WWE likes to drop the ball sometimes. This is one of the ones where they can make something out of this. They can make it like
They
you're
just
the next
choose
big
not
thing,
to.
but it's just kind of like,
Yeah,
it's
it's like,
nothing.
you know what my favorite thing is? Story threads that go nowhere.
You would love WWE.
Hey, it's like they stole Nomura's handbook on Final Fantasy writing.
Oh.
Boom!
So proud of you. But yeah, so this one features some classics, and by classics I mean Big Show. He's the only one who's like very
sweet.
name recognizable. So it's him.
The Big Show is basically what if Andre the Giant was
Alive.
still wrestling 20 years later.
Oh, okay.
He's
Yeah.
massive, and the entire gag is he moves very little and just wrecks fools.
Oh.
There's an entire scene of him like destroying an entire battle royale by just like choke slamming
and,
everybody.
and by entire scene, I mean it happens every fucking Royal Rumble where everyone will gang up on him and just like no, and just shove everyone away.
I saw
Happens
this guy.
every year.
I saw this guy when we were watching it at Hi-Fi, weren't we?
Yeah, that's right.
He just shows up and like there's a ring full of blokes and like he shows up and basically individually throws them out of the ring.
Yeah,
it's what if you could fight a Colossus.
It's a
in the
standard
wrestling
big
ring.
guy spot, basically. But now, the interesting about this match is that you have Sami Zayn, who's my personal favorite. He's just basically a young, spry dude who is just... what the hell is it? If ska was a person, it'd be Sami Zayn.
If ska was a person?
Ska, the musical genre, was a person.
I think, isn't that just the lead singer of Real Big Fish?
It's not far off.
No, he's the hype man.
No, that's
from the Mighty Mighty Boston.
So
He's that guy.
it's ironic that you brought up Hype Man, because there's this other wrestler named Mojo Rawley whose gimmick is that he doesn't get hype, he stays hype.
Oh, that's so awesome. I
It's
love
pretty
that.
great.
That's
Anyway,
amazing.
the other big competitor in that one is a gentleman named Braun Strowman, who's basically Big Show's younger equivalent.
Oh, okay.
He's also pretty agile for his size. He's also a big 7-foot timber-looking motherfucker.
Jesus.
And his gimmick is that he yells Braun, and then he just destroys things. It's fascinating.
What if Hodor multiplied?
Right.
Hodor.
What's coming up next? Raw Tag Team Championship. It's a ladder match between a bunch of famous Japanese wrestlers who are actually white people called the Bullet Club, are now just the club because I guess WWE doesn't want bullets in their name. Fair.
Yeah, whatever.
There's this tag team from New Jersey, which is their gimmick, and then Cesaro and Sheamus, which is one of those like, we're good wrestlers, but we don't know where to put you, so you're a tag team now, go have fun.
Okay.
There's expected to be the return of the Hardy Boys, supposedly, which is huge if you watched it in the 2000s. And it's huge now, but for a completely different reason, because they changed up their gimmick to something called Broken Matt Hardy and Brother Nero, which is basically this dude who thinks he is from the UK and has traveled back in time 300 years. We will watch a little bit of it later.
Listeners, you didn't see this, but Andrew and I just both looked at each other like, what the fuck? What the actual fuck?
Yeah, it's literally the hottest thing in wrestling right now. Where
Traveled back in time 300 years?
something like that, yeah. So he's like this old. He's supposed to be like this old timey, or he thinks he's this old timey like gentleman from UK. I'm not describing for people who watch wrestling. I'm doing a poor job, and I know it. But his whole gimmick is that he yells delete a bunch at people, and then he waves his hands as he goes delete, delete, delete.
What is he, a friggin' Cyberman?
He has a boat called Skarsgård, something like that.
Skarsgård.
And then he has a drone called Vanguard 2.0.
All right.
It's a fantastic nonsense character.
That sounds like Cable from the X-Men.
Yes. And I'm actually enthralled by this concept.
I love it too, but this is so crazy.
If there was a representation of modern day wrestling and the theatrics that go into it, look up Broken Matt Hardy, which we will do after this is done.
No, totally. We got a computer.
It's important. SmackDown Women's Championship. This was going to be on the pre-show, but it got bumped into the main show because people got pissed because it's a championship match for women and it's on the pre-show. Go fuck yourself. Put it on the main show.
Side note, before we continue, I've
please.
actually heard that women are getting a lot more respect in the WWE.
Yeah, so it was this big thing about a year and a half ago, roughly, maybe 2 years ago, where there was one match that ended in about 20 seconds. It was these two women competitors, and one just immediately hit the finisher on the other. Boom, done. You're out. Because women traditionally in wrestling, like let's say the show was running long, those matches would always get cut. And so it never showed off like their actual athletic prowess. And then historically before that, or even concurrently, women were basically used as, sexualized people. Like it wasn't for athleticism. It was basically they hired a bunch of models and it wasn't good. And it was a really poor representation of what women could do, especially around the world, particularly in Japan, where women were just killing it. They were on par, if not better than some of the men wrestlers out there. And so it's changed very dramatically.
Well, that's good.
It's not exactly 50-50 yet, but if you looked at it now versus like say 2006, you wouldn't even know. You couldn't even tell. It would be the same company. Like it's wonderful. But it's unfortunately just kind of a generic match where it's the champion who basically looks like Harley Quinn light. Who fights every other person who's available that's a woman on the roster. So it's basically this giant battle royal-esque sort of thing.
Oh, that actually sounds pretty cool.
It'll be a fun match. Everyone in that match is really competitive, knows what they're doing. It's just there's no storyline behind it besides one of those like, you're the champion and I won it, which is good for some storylines, but when it's kind of all of them, you're just like, I want something for it, but it works. Sure. It's not just a throwaway, so that's nice. Intercontinental Championship, Dean Ambrose versus Baron Corbin. Not a lot to discuss with it, which will get me some hatred, maybe.
Wow, there's a lot of matches in WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah, it's a 4-hour show?
Okay.
Versus a normal 3-hour show, so we'll have to book another hour, just in case you guys are wondering.
Yeah.
Anyway, it'll be an interesting match. They're both really good wrestlers, but there's nothing, again, of substance. Basically, Dean Ambrose, and you saw him at SmackDown, I believe. I think he's on that show, where basically he's this crazy dude who just does whatever he wants. And then Baron Corbin is this lone wolf. He doesn't side with anyone, and he's the biggest, baddest dude. He's a tall motherfucker for sure. Former boxing champion, all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, so basically he's like, I'm better than you. And Dean Ambrose is like, okay, whatever, you suck. And that's the match.
Great. Fantastic.
Unfortunately, there's not a lot of story to dig in until now.
You
get the United States Championship match, which is a shitty title, and they need to get rid of that title because it means fucking nothing. But the match itself is great.
Sure.
So you have Chris Jericho, the champion.
Jericho! I recognize
Jericho
that name.
is still a thing.
Really?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Even probably hotter now, maybe, than he was back in the day.
Damn.
I think it's his best run he's done. Versus Kevin Owens and their gimmick. Kevin Owens, by the way, was a very popular independent wrestler for a long time. WWE picked him up, and he's just basically surged to the top ever since. Like, he's had a remarkable career in like the year, maybe 2 years he's been with the company on the main roster. Anyway, so the gimmick was that they were best friends, and it was some of the greatest wrestling television for quite a long time. Because you had the list of Jericho, which is where if you pissed off Jericho, you got on the list of Jericho, which is a literal clipboard with paper that he would write your name down. And it's wonderful stuff. And then Kevin Owens, phenomenal. They're both Canadian. They're both really witty on their feet. It was a great friendship until it got broken because Kevin Owens betrayed Chris Jericho because Chris Jericho threw him in a title match for his Universal title, which is also a terrible, stupid fucking name.
That is a pretty terrible name.
Against Goldberg.
Wait, whoa!
Yeah, we'll get to that.
Okay.
So that happened. Kevin Owens immediately lost. And then now, basically, those two... Kevin Owens basically beat the shit out of Jericho. They're no longer best friends. And now we're going to duke it out in a best friends fight, also known as the United States Championship match, which, again, is a stupid fucking title. You should reconsider that.
Please reconsider immediately.
Are we on time? Or
we do need to start closing out.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Mostly,
right.
not to cut anyone short, but... I'm kind of afraid of the batteries dying on my recorder.
Lol.
All right, Blitz.
Cool. We'll speed it through. Another women's championship, Raw's women's championship. Again, same sort of story. You have the title. I want it. pretty straightforward. Everyone in the match, sans Nia Jax, is a really good wrestler. It'll be a great match athletically. Vince McMahon's, the owner of the company, son is in a match against AJ Styles.
Oh, I thought you were about to say Vince is wrestling. I'm like, isn't he 80?
He thought about it.
I'm sure he thinks about it every day.
Against AJ Styles, which is a phenomenal person. His gimmick is that he's the phenomenal one, so ha. Also, it'll be a good match. I wish it wasn't against, the son of the company, but he's good in his own right. Seth Rollins versus Triple H. He's still a thing.
I knew Triple H was still a thing.
Yeah, so basically Seth Rollins got injured, and Triple H is like, you won't come back in time for WrestleMania because your leg is broken and you're stupid. And Seth Rollins is like, I'll come back, and he did.
Please tell me more Jon Stewart. I need more Jon Stewart with Seth Rollins.
No, Jon Stewart's out.
Oh.
Probably.
For reference, Jon Stewart showed up a bunch.
The power couple stuff. So John Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice. This is the one I was telling you where it goes into their actual relationship and their actual stuff.
Right, it bleeds into real life.
Right, and so everyone in the fucking world is expecting that Cena and Nikki will win.
Because John Cena.
Because it's John Cena. And then John will propose to Nikki. That's kind of the gimmick. Actually, legitimately propose. And The Miz is basically just taking pot shots about how John doesn't want to get married. It's all for just promoting his own brand. It's all for looking good. He doesn't actually like anyone. He's very self-centered. It's actually really fascinating to watch. We just don't have time to cover it because that would be an episode in and of itself.
Right. I'm getting the feeling that'd be the same for
that being said, that's the one thing that you told me about before, and that's the one thing I've wanted you to talk about.
That's the one thing that's the one match that, by all definitions, when I first heard it was going to be a thing, was going to be the blow-away match. It's just if you want to take a piss break, you take it there. It wasn't supposed to be a good match, and The Miz just stepped up super hard. He's like, I'm going to make you fucking watch this match. And sure enough, he is definitively the most entertaining thing in the last 2 months as far as the build up on this card. Where it's he's talking, basically it's blurring the lines, right? He's talking shit in character, but also but it fits in real life too a little bit. It's that really fascinating dynamic. It's I wonder how much of this is an actual meta conversation versus how much of this is supposed to be planned out.
Right.
Without going the terminology and stuff. Right, the Phenom, the Undertaker, versus the Big Dog, and which is so they're having this fucking thing. So the Undertaker, I don't have to explain who he is. He's the fucking Undertaker.
If you don't know who the Undertaker is, then why are you still listening to this episode?
Really?
Yeah, also that.
We also explained it earlier in the episode.
Yeah, sure. And then the Big Dog, Roman Reigns, which is a terrible nickname.
That is a terrible name.
And they're fighting to whose yard is it? Which is also a terrible tagline for this match.
That is a horrible tagline.
Because a graveyard is not a fucking yard. It's not you're mowing the grass. Who planted the sod? It's stupid. It's a bad tagline. And
I just imagine the Undertaker with a lawnmower just walking over just people's graves, just
I'm glad.
Hey, Billy.
Replace lawnmower with walker or wheelchair, and you're kind of close to how Undertaker's matches have been getting lately. Look, when you see him in his presence and his character, it's there, right?
Dude's been wrestling since the late 80s?
Early 80s, I think.
Early 80s,
Early 80s.
Yeah, dude's been wrestling for 30 plus years.
Yeah, and it's taken a toll on his body. It's one of the things where the last few matches he's been in WrestleMania have just gone downhill in quality, and it's not so much a slight on him. One of the matches got concussed super early and just had to finish it through. The other ones have just been he's just going slow. He's doing the moves. They're just in slow motion, and it's just not. It's not the youth that it was, but if you loved Undertaker as a kid, or you at least recognize the bloke, you'll still enjoy the match, hopefully.
It's like going to see a concert with a band that you've loved since you were a kid. It's
I was going to say, I feel Grateful Dead people feel this way at this point. It's really, god damn it.
So throwback to 2000, I think WrestleMania 20, which is Goldberg, who is the champion, who returned. He returned.
What in God's name is going on?
Versus Brock Lesnar, the former UFC heavyweight fighter.
Is that the guy who looks like he ate a truck and gained its power?
Yeah. That's the guy who could legitimately suplex a bear and would not bat it
He looks like the American version of Zangief.
A little bit, though.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So basically, they brought Goldberg back, and he's a champion, and they brought back a bunch of part-timers just so they could have that mainstream appeal. It's I remember when Goldberg was a fucking shit. And to be fair, he still has that presence. He looks better now, I would argue, than back in the day, which is impressive. His matches he hasn't had a match over I think a minute at this point. Because that was always Goldberg's gig, is that he would finish you off so quick you wouldn't even know it. Because he's super powerful.
Right.
So hopefully this match lasts longer than 2 minutes, hopefully. but a lot of people are kind of betting. It's like, we're not sure how this is going to go.
I also always feel like when I look at Lesnar, he looks like the kind of guy he looks like the power thirst guy, where it's like, I can punch the ground and cause a legitimate earthquake.
Yeah.
And the Grandpa Simpson thing, where it's like, that man, he has a haircut that you could set a watch to.
Brock
I'm just gonna make
Lesnar,
Lesnar jokes until he appears out of the wall and kills me.
if there's a persona of like, I don't give a fuck, it's Brock Lesnar. Just doesn't care. He just wants his championship and his money that goes with the championship. Fantastic.
Yep.
And then Goldberg is the one who headbutted a door, because that was his gimmick. He would always like he'd headbutt like a wall or a door, then walk out to the ring, and they'd film it all the time. And recently,
how's that a gimmick?
Don't worry about it.
Whatever.
And
it's wrestling. Don't think too hard.
That's the rule.
Clearly Goldberg isn't.
Well, it's funny you bring it up. So he did that right before he was supposed to cut like this promo in the ring, and he ended up like slightly concussing himself, and he couldn't remember his lines, and so he's like, "Oh fuck, like man, it's tough here in Philadelphia, wherever we're at. I couldn't." You really got me, guy. It was super awkward. It was kind of rough. It was hysterical.
Children, don't headbutt things.
Yeah, hysterical but bad. And then last but not least, honestly, I think this will be one of the best matches on the card, especially if you're big into theatrics and storytelling. Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton.
That sounds
hang on,
amazing.
stop. Say that again.
Bray Wyatt versus Randy Orton.
Okay.
What did you think I said? Savage?
No.
Randy Savage
No,
just
it's
getting
just,
wailed
I felt like you stumbled through their names a little bit, and I wanted you to say it again a little clearer.
Oh, sure. That's my bad.
You got Swamp God versus the
this one I want to spend some
what was his
very
title?
tiny
The
bit.
God Killer, or like what was his title?
The Eater of Worlds is one of them.
Jesus.
No, we all know who the Eater of Worlds is.
It's Galactus.
That is
Eater of
Galactus.
Worlds in your hand, something to that effect. Randy Orton is known
Legend Killer.
that's Legend. That's Randy Orton. Legend Killer. He's known as the Apex Predator. He's also known as Snake or like Snack.
Wait, so for the record, this is the guy that was sitting in the rocking chair, right?
No, that's Bray Wyatt.
Bray Wyatt.
Okay,
that's Bray Wyatt. So Randy Orton is the guy who's made a little bit of an internet sensation out of himself, or at least his finisher.
He's the fire guy, right?
Yeah, so you know him for a different thing. Yeah, so his
fireman.
His finisher is the RKO, which is his initials, if I remember correctly.
It is.
And that became an internet meme of itself, because basically there's this period of time where like high schoolers and shit would just RKO each other in hallways, which is bad because it throws your face into the ground.
Yes,
like
it's
just not. It's not a good move to do outside of the context of the
no one ever
wrestling.
accused kids of being smart.
Oh, no shit. And basically, he's this dastardly fellow. Basically, he's also one of those like don't give a fuck, but in his own ways sort of gig. Yeah. Where this is very sneaky, and his finishing move can come out of nowhere, which is kind of a gig. And it's actually really well done.
Yeah.
And the gimmick of this match is that, so let's take a step back. Bray Wyatt is a Southern Gothic swampland cult leader.
Right. He walks out carrying a lantern. Everyone's like, ooh.
Yeah, and they have the spooky music and everything. It's awesome.
It's not even that spooky of music, honestly. It's a bass guitar.
Yeah, it's just boom.
Yeah, I'm not singing it because it's awful.
Yeah.
Well, it's a great song. I sing it back.
But then it's like everyone like they pull out their lights to be like fireflies.
Yeah, that's the whole gimmick. Is that everyone is just fireflies and all that stuff.
And the whole thing reeks of kind of like. So without context, it would be really fucking creepy if you just walked into a place and saw that going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Louisiana Bog Wizard was my best comparison.
That's not a bad...
Louisiana Marsh Wizard.
Bog was a better word. Louisiana Bog Wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of... So he was supposed to be like the next Undertaker. It's kind of being groomed to be the next Undertaker. That big, like, dark, gritty...
Unfortunately, the Undertaker just won't die.
Because he's the Undertaker. And then half the gag...
Yeah,
I
mean, considering he's like the only dude who's still wrestling out of those people.
Wasn't his streak undefeated for like 20 years and being undefeated at WrestleMania or something?
Yeah, it was, I think he was the 1 in 21-1, I believe, 22-1, something like that. And he lost to Brock Lesnar.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, right, Bray Wyatt. Basically, I don't know if Eater of Worlds is my thing or that's what they call him, but that's what I call him.
It's a badass title.
He has his rocking chair. It's supposed to be like the very kind of B-movie horror sort of stuff, where he has his people who wear lamb mask or other animal mask, and he's just an overall generally creepy guy. And the gimmick here, and this is where the storyline comes to play, where basically Bray Wyatt thinks he's God for more or less the point. And he has this dead sister named Abigail who's buried in this nondescript shed in the middle of the woods. And Randy Orton won the match at Royal Rumble, so he's guaranteed a title shot. But at this time, Bray Wyatt, he won the championship at Elimination Chamber. And so Randy Orton snuck his way into the Wyatt family a little bit before that. And basically well, I won't challenge you for your title because you're Bray Wyatt. You're my leader and whatever. And basically just kind of playing along and doing that sort of stuff. And what basically ended up happening is that Randy was a snake and went to basically figured out where the shack was. And then
the shack where his sister was buried
is buried. Yes. And in that shack is I think just a lone rocking chair. And I don't know if the rocking chair in there or not. Doesn't matter. It's where his dead sister's supposedly buried.
Yes.
Or the soul of the dead sister.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
The symbolism is there.
To quote The Rock, it doesn't matter what's buried there.
Oh.
But yeah,
so right. Recovering.
No, that was fantastic.
No, it was actually pretty good. Anyway, so Randy Orton pours petrol, gas, all over the damn place. And walks outside, and it's this big dramatic scene where Bray Wyatt's in the middle of the ring, screaming and pleading Randy not to do this. And Randy just kind of looks at the camera and then lights a match and throws it on the ground. And, gasoline trail, the shack goes up in flames. The cameraman is still in the shack. They filmed him inside the shack and then they cut to him outside the shack. But as far as we know, the cameraman's still in the fucking shack.
The cameraman's just burning to death in there.
And
Good shot.
So he burns. The thing's just
remember me.
The thing is just ablaze. It's just fucking on fire. And then Randy Orton, it's my favorite part of the whole damn thing, hits his fucking pose in the middle of the woods where no one is supposed to realistically be there.
Right.
And he just hits it for 2 seconds, and that's where another internet meme came up.
That led to a whole bunch of people on the internet doing a Photoshop battle.
Yeah,
of him in front of various other versions of arson.
It's great.
That thing got so big, even I saw it.
Yeah. Oh my god, I haven't seen this. I need to look this up.
Yeah, so that's a thing now too.
That's amazing.
So that happened. And so basically it's kind of devolved from there, where now Bray Wyatt wants to get revenge. Yeah, so Bray Wyatt's the champion because you're also the champion at this time. But that's also been kind of a secondary sort of plot, which I find interesting. But yeah, so he's champion. Randy Orton's challenging him. Bray is going to vow for his dead sister's now burned up body, ? He's now baptized in the ashes of Sister Abigail, which is hokey pokey bullshit for it's wrestling and it's going to be fantastic.
Once again, Louisiana Bog Wizard.
Louisiana Bog Wizard. I hope this closes out the show because it'll be a fantastic match. It's an open air arena, so it'll be pitch black hopefully by the time this happens, which will look killer with Bray Wyatt's entrance. And that would hopefully close out the show, and we all record a podcast shortly after that.
Speaking of closing out the show,
yes.
So what we're going to do is we are going to sit down and watch WrestleMania 33
yes,
as a group with Ben attempting to explain what the fuck is going on sometimes.
Yeah, if needed, I'll come in. It's what is happening? So shut up, watch it. It's fine.
Just observe.
Yeah. And then afterwards, we're probably very shortly afterwards, we're going to sit down and we are going to record our thoughts and feelings on WrestleMania 1933.
Yeah.
Oh, the joke is that John put an apostrophe on the 33.
Don't explain the joke.
Otherwise, it sounds like we just
leave it alone.
We didn't even go back in time 100 years. We went back in time some 70 fucking years for some reason.
So what you're telling me is we're all Broken Man, whatever, that guy from earlier.
Thank you. We're gonna Broken Matt Hardy. We'll watch that in a bit.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, it's been great talking. Have a good night.
Yeah. Bye, everybody.
Oh, bye. What?
And, if you're not listening to this at night, good afternoon, good morning, good
do
evening,
what you do.
Nice Truman Show reference there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I fucked it up, but, whatever.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
I didn't see Truman Show, but bye.
There's another one.